Hello, my friend, and welcome back to another episode of Catching Your Breath, the podcast. I'm Steve Austin, and I am so glad that you're here. Look, today I am sharing with you some exclusive audio. So this is actually the audio from a brand new webinar I've just released on 14 ways to master your emotions. So if you've been following me very long, you know I'm an emotional health coach. It's what I do. I help people move from shrinking back from their emotions, stuffing down their feelings, avoiding their feelings, numbing themselves at all costs. I take people from that to engaging with their emotions, to feeling their feelings, to being able to communicate who they are, what they need, what they want, in a way that honors where they are and respects other people at the same time. So, this is a webinar all about 14 simple ways to start building a foundation of emotional health. I know you're going to learn a lot. Thanks for listening. Hello, my friend. Thanks for checking in with me today. I want to talk to you about 14 ways that you can regain control and learn to master your emotions. You know, there's some really toxic teaching out there about emotions, that there's such things as good emotions and bad emotions, and it's just not true. Any emotion can be unhealthy if it's out of control, but emotions in themselves are not bad. They're such a huge part of what make us human. So let's dive right in. I want to ask you first, do you control your emotions or do they control you? That's the difference in a healthy person and an unhealthy person. If your emotions are just running game all over you all day long and you are out of control, you're not healthy. But if you can master your own emotions and learn to use them and express yourself in ways that are healthy and respectful, both to yourself, to your own wants and needs, and to others and their wants and needs, you're on your way to being a pretty healthy person. Emotions should serve us, not the other way around. So when your emotions are out of control, it's really hard on your mind, your body, and your relationships. I remember being in the psych ward right after my suicide attempt some 8 years ago. And one of the first group sessions, the therapist taught us that as emotions go up, rational thinking goes down. So when your emotions are out of control, exactly what this slide says, your mind, your body, your relationships suffer. So it's learning to lower those emotions, get them in check so that you can think logically and rationally. There's this concept in therapy about the wise mind. You have people who tend to be run by their emotions. You have other people who tend to be run purely by logic. And so these emotional folks, oh my gosh, we can really wear people out. These logical folks can sort of snore us emotional folks to death. But finding that balance where you can bring your emotions and you can bring your logic, your rational thinking, and marry the two together, then you're living from what's called the wise mind. So let's talk about a few negative issues that are caused by uncontrolled emotions. When your emotions aren't in check, you can easily be sort of pushed over the ledge and say or do something inappropriate. Strong emotions inhibit our ability to make sound decisions. Again, as emotions go up, rational thinking goes down. Overactive emotional responses can be damaging to your health. So when that stress is out of control, when your anger is out of control, right? So we would tend to say, ooh, stress is all bad. Anger is all bad. Well, that's not true. It's when they're out of control that they actually can do damage to you physiologically. But let's talk about some benefits. When you learn to have some control over your emotions, to express yourself in healthy ways, to be able to have some coping skills, some coping strategies in place for when your emotions are starting to feel out of control, because it's going to happen because you're a human being. But when you can get them in control, here's some benefits. Number one, you can avoid a whole lot of challenges in your life. Don't we already have enough stress? So when you have that stress and uncontrolled emotions, oh my gosh, it's just this recipe for disaster. So it's not saying that just by controlling your emotions, you're never going to have obstacles. That's not true. We're always going to face challenges and hard times. But if we have a good perspective, if we're using our wisdom and our experience from things that we've learned in the past to keep a check on our emotions while we're going through those hard things, they seem a little less difficult. The second thing, you'll live in greater harmony with others. So it's really important to go from, you don't want to just be passive all the time in how you express yourself. You don't want to be aggressive all the time in how you express yourself and bulldoze people over. But if you can find some balance, again, it's all about balance, and be assertive. So I'm saying what I need. I'm saying what I want in a way that respects and honors who I am and where I am, and in a way that respects and honors who you are and where you are. You can live in peace. Even if you disagree, you can live in peace. Number 3, you'll enjoy more peace and happiness in your life. So not only will you have peace in your relationships, but this one speaks even deeper to that inner peace, that inner knowing that even when the world is in chaos, my inner world can be calm, can be clear, and I can feel confident. With most other things, controlling your emotions requires practice, daily practice. So here's some strategies toward becoming the master of your own emotions. Number 1, be aware of your emotions. So you can't grow from what you're not aware of. You have to know where you are, what's going on in your life. Take this assessment of the kind of balance that you have now. See what areas you need to grow in. Name those things. Name the emotions that tend to get out of control for you. And just be aware of it first. That's the very first step. Emotions turn off the logical part of your brain. We've said this how many times now? As emotions go up, rational thinking goes down. So you got the emotional brain, you got the logical brain. We're trying to get you to marry those halves and live from the wise mind. So you're fully engaged with whatever has triggered your emotional state. It takes practice to notice that your emotions are off kilter. Look, this is not, I'm going to watch this video and suddenly I'm the master of my emotions. No, you have to take what you learn here and put it into practice day after day. It may require the help from a mental health professional, maybe an emotional health coach, could be talking to your pastor or someone else in your support system, whoever it is that helps you stay in check. Someone who loves you, who supports you, who shows you compassion and patience, and also cares enough about you to tell you the truth in love. But it's a daily practice. But it's easier to put out a smaller fire than a bigger fire. So if you start now, recognize it now, get control of it now before it becomes this raging wildfire. Catch yourself as quickly as possible. Number 2, reduce stress. You want to become the master of your emotions? Do what you can to reduce your stressors. You've probably noticed that when you're stressed at work, you're less patient with your children. When you're stressed about finances, you're less patient with your partner. These stressors cause our emotions to go out of control. When our emotions are out of control, our stressors seem to grow. It's this vicious cycle that we get lost in. When your stress levels are higher, you're more likely to overreact. I know it's true. Hi, my name is Steve, and I am not the perfect parent. When my stressors are out of control and when my emotions are out of control, I am not a great parent. I'm not a patient dad. I'm not a kind husband. I get very focused on the right here, the right now, that this is the worst thing ever. This is always going to be this way. That's what, because my emotions are going up, that logical thinking is going down. I think this is the worst case scenario and it's never going to get better, but it's not true. So take time to enjoy activities that bring you peace. Getting out in nature, meditating, getting a massage, going for a run, talking to your therapist. There's all sorts of things you can do things that you enjoy that will bring you inner peace. A coaching client asked me just last week, Can external things give us peace? Well, I don't know that we necessarily get peace directly from a run or directly from meditation, but those things point us toward the inner world and help us reconnect with that peace that already lives inside of our hearts and our minds. Number 3, exercise. So I have just recently started exercising again. I've been going for a jog at least 4 days a week. And I got to tell you, it is helping. It's harder to get upset or stressed out after a good workout. So I describe what exercise does for my anxiety and for my stress, for my emotions. I describe it in the same way that a lot of people describe meditation. So people will describe meditation as this muddy jar of water. And as you meditate and you come to stillness, the sediment slowly settles down to the bottom of the jar until that water is clear and you can see through it again. Well, that's exactly what going for a good run does for me. All those jumbled thoughts and all that energy that's got to get out finally gets out, and I come home and I'm breathing slower. I'm breathing a little heavier. But when I come back from a run, that head full of ping pong balls that are just bouncing around, all those thoughts and all that energy seem to have settled, and I can focus on what's truly important. Regular exercise releases much of the tension in your body and makes it easier to control your emotions throughout the day. It also helps me sleep better. Number 4, this is so important. Determine your triggers. So, when are you most likely to lose control? Is it around a certain person? Is it when you're hungry? Is it in a certain scenario? Is it at a certain place? Are there things in your environment or people in your environment or things in your own body that tend to trigger and cause you to lose control? Is it at work? Is it at home in the evening? Is it with your in-laws? Notice those things and make at least a mental note of them so that you can be better prepared if and when those things present themselves again. Notice your emotional patterns. Do what you can to minimize your responses in those situations. Number 5, boy, this is not always easy. Keep your ego under control. Your ego, yeah. Many strong negative emotions are the result of a fragile ego. I'm worried to death about what they might think if I start doing this, if I stop doing that. I have the approval fix. I've got to feel like everybody approves of me all the time. I need everyone to like me all the time. This was a huge struggle of mine pre-suicide attempt. I was constantly living or trying to live up to the unrealistic expectation of other people, and my emotions were always on high alert. So maybe you feel like you've been ignored or mistreated or slighted in some way. Perhaps you believe that someone didn't act in a way that you considered appropriate. Well, you can shore up your ego. You can rebuild your self-esteem, your self-confidence. You can love yourself with some positive affirmations. So, I am strong. I am confident. I am capable. I am calm. I am patient. Tell yourself these things until you believe them. Real quick, my friend, I want to take 60 seconds to tell you about this brand new course I've just created. If you're listening to this audio from this webinar and you think, man, I need some help with my emotional health, I'd love to help you. I've just released Emotional Health 101, 30 Days of Wellbeing. And I got to tell you, it is the most helpful resource I have ever created. I have taken all the work that I've done in the last 8 years to become the healthiest version of me possible. And I've put it into video lessons, exercises, guided meditations, downloadable worksheets, and built a community specifically for your emotional health. You can get more information by going to emotionalhealthnow.com. And if you sign up by Wednesday night, May 20th, using the discount code SAVE75, you'll save $75 off the registration cost. So if you're ready to build a foundation of emotional health, go to emotionalhealthnow.com. That's emotionalhealthnow.com. Number 6, meditate. Oh, meditation. It's one of the greatest things for my anxiety. It's one of the greatest things for my emotions. Why? Because meditation teaches you that your thoughts and emotions are fleeting things that largely come and go. Yeah. Meditation recenters us. So as we learn to just observe the thoughts that we're having, observe the feelings that we're having, like a leaf on the surface of the water on a creek, just floating by. Notice it, there it is, and let it go on by. Oh man, that retraining of our brain, and when we can come out of that stillness practice and apply it into everyday life, into interactions with other people, it really makes an impact. You also learn that they'll fade on their own. You also realize that you don't have to react. Number 7, sleep. Love to take a nap. You know, most of us, the vast majority of Americans for sure, don't get enough sleep. If you've ever noticed a tired toddler, or in my case, a tired 6-year-old, a really tired, exhausted little child is sort of on this emotional knife edge. Any little thing can cause them to just teeter-totter over the edge into an epic meltdown. Well, don't fool yourself into thinking that you're immune to that kind of thing too, because you're not. Get enough sleep to ensure that you're emotionally sound every day. I'll tell you a story about my wife, Lindsay. She won't mind me telling this because she tells it often. She's written about it. The thing, in addition to some postpartum depression and some psychosis, the thing that sent Lindsay over the edge after our first child was born was a lack of sleep. She had major sleep deprivation, and it landed her in the hospital for nearly 2 weeks. She spent a week on a regular ward with them observing her and trying to figure out what's going on, and eventually was transferred to the psych ward for a week. And it all boiled down to a total lack of sleep. So sleep, it's no wonder that they use sleep deprivation with prisoners of war, with enemies of war, to try to get answers out of them, to punish them. Sleep is so big. Number 8, change your thoughts. And I would add to this, challenge your thoughts. So you can upset yourself. You can send yourself into a total, just out of control spiral with your own thoughts. Nobody else has to say or do a thing, and you can send yourself into this meltdown. You can also make yourself feel better by changing and challenging your thoughts. So, when you notice a negative thought, immediately switch to a thought that feels good. Another thing, if this doesn't work, you go, well, I can't just replace it. Okay, then challenge it. So when this thought comes up and it's a shameful thought that says, Steve, you're nothing but a piece of crap. You've totally blown it. You're the worst dad. You're the worst husband. You're the worst employee. Fill in the blank. You're the worst ever. Here's what I do. First, I ask myself, is this true? Am I a piece of crap? Am I the worst dad ever? Am I the worst husband ever? Am I the worst employee ever? And when I can finally calm down enough to say, that's not true, the second question I ask myself is, what is true? Today was a bad day, or I lost my temper in one conversation with my partner, or I really blew it on that one project. You can admit that that is true without catastrophizing and it being the end of the world. So is this true? No. What is true? It was a really bad day. What am I going to do about it? That's the third and final question. What am I going to do about it? Usually involves involving someone else in the situation. I need to tell my wife. I need to tell my therapist. I need to call my emotional health coach. I need to bring someone in from my inner circle and say, look, here's the thought I'm having. I know it's not true. I know that this is true, but I need your help in remembering that. Will you check on me? Will you make sure I'm not beating myself up tomorrow? Really important. Number 9, practice the pause. Just pause. When you think that you can't possibly go another step, don't. Don't go another step. Just pause. Think of all the trouble you could have saved yourself over the years if you'd just taken a moment to take a deep breath and relax. I'm working on this with my little boy right now, helping him when he feels overwhelmed, when he feels really angry, when he's ready to choke the life out of his sister, right? Because it's typical siblings, to picture a stop sign in his head. Stop. Think. Observe. And then pause, right? So we're stopping, we're thinking about it, we're observing how we're feeling. We pause again. So you've stopped, you've paused, you're stopping twice, and then move on, right? Then you can proceed. When you're feeling overly emotional, take the time to collect yourself before you speak or take an action you might regret. This little technology is so wonderful, and it can be so detrimental to so many relationships, whether it's a tweet, a Facebook post, a text, and you've just got to respond right this second. Friend, can I give you permission to not respond right this second? To take an hour, to take 24 hours. We live in this instant world, this microwave instant world where we think we have to respond to that email within the next 5 minutes of receiving it. And that's ridiculous. No, you don't. You have permission to pause, collect yourself, and respond from the wise mind, not just the emotional mind, not just the logical mind that has no compassion or empathy, but the wise mind that marries them both. Okay? Number 10, focus on finding a solution. So emotions run higher when you focus only on the problem. But if you will instead focus on a solution, it'll help you calm down. You won't only calm yourself, but you'll also be on track to solving the issue before you. Number 11, we talked about this a couple of steps ago. Question your opinions. So you're not always right. Maybe you don't actually have a good reason to be upset. Ask yourself if your opinions and beliefs are 100% accurate regarding the upsetting circumstances. So again, is this true? No, it's not. What is true? This. Well, what am I going to do about it? You're not always right. And you are not always kind to yourself. That's why we're having this conversation today. Number 12, this one and two more. Remind yourself of past emotional experiences. Occasionally remind yourself of the pain that you've caused other people by losing control. And also remember when you've taken that break, when you've taken that pause and been able to keep yourself calm, cool, and collected and respond in a healthy way, how things went more smoothly. So remind yourself of the bad things that have happened and the good things that have happened before you make that decision. 13, avoid alcohol. Boy, oh boy. A few drinks can loosen up the emotions, and this might be fun in certain situations, but it could be a disaster in others. So 10 years ago and more, when I was not healthy, when I was not in therapy, when I was not following my diagnosis, when I was not listening to the doctor, when I was not exercising, when I didn't have coping skills in place, I was numbing with alcohol. And there are plenty of nights I don't remember, plenty of get-togethers with friends that I only remember little blips of because I was just black out drunk. I was trying to avoid my emotions, or sometimes I would get so drunk that I would say really terrible, horrible things to my wife that I didn't mean, that I would never say to her sober. And boy, that alcohol certainly didn't help. It loosened me up. So I said all sorts of things, and it nearly destroyed my marriage. So if you're not healthy, don't drink. Be cautious regarding alcohol use. Yeah, just be careful. Know your limits. And finally, focus on your breathing. This could be number 1 through 14. Focus on your breathing. When you're in the middle of a strong emotional reaction, you're focused on the thoughts that are going through your head. And it's really easy to magnify your emotional state when your focus is inward. But if you will bring yourself back to reality by directing your attention to your breath, you will find that you start to calm down. You start to remember, oh yeah, this is not forever. This is this one moment. And you know what? Yes, it's really bad. It's very unfortunate. It's extremely frustrating. My heart is broken, whatever that is. But I'm going to get through this. I may need help to get through it, but I'm going to get through it. Maintaining control of your emotions is a vital skill, and you can develop this skill with practice. You may not have it right now. I didn't either, but I've built it day by day, practice by practice, conversation by conversation, and you can do it too. And I know these strategies will help. If you have control over your emotions, you have more control over your life. Hear me again. Let me say it for the folks in the back. If you have control over your emotions, you have more control over your life. Take the first step to gaining control over your life today. I'd love to teach you how to feel your emotions, not avoid them, not stuff them down, but engage with them, listen to them, learn from them, and communicate them in a way that is respectful and not harmful to other people. So, check out my site, emotionalhealthnow.com. I'll see you there. Thanks. And that's it, my friend. Again, go to emotionalhealthnow.com by Wednesday night, May 20th. Input the discount code SAVE75. You sign up, you get 30 days of emotional health, including 2 one-on-one sessions with me, videos, downloadable worksheets, exercises, guided meditations, and an online community where you can find regular support and build a habit of emotional health. I'd love to work with you and show you the step-by-step process toward finding emotional freedom. Go to emotionalhealthnow.com. I'll see you there. Thanks again for listening.